Yeah, can you maybe sit?
Just sit in the white chair there.
Okay, we'll go 2.
No, at 6 minutes, just give me 1 minute. Just at 6 minutes, hold up one finger. And then I'll know where we go from there.
Okay. You're rolling with yours.
All right. Well, Mr. Matheson, as the novelist and the screenwriter, you're in an enviable position because mostly novelists have to turn the screenwriting over to someone else. And that must be a little bit like putting your children out for Hertz Rent-A-Kid or something.
That's true. Yeah, no, mostly, I guess for some reason, most novelists do not have the ability to write screenplays. I don't know why. I think if a writer is a visual writer, which I am, which by that I mean when you read what I've written in a novel, you can see it in your mind visually, and so if I do the same thing in a script, I found the transition almost negligible. It was a long time ago, and I've been doing it a long time, and I hope improved. But as I say, if you don't write in that way, then the transition is almost impossible.
Your story was, I read, inspired somewhat by Maud Adams.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Now, how did you get involved in this Maud Adams interest?
Well, my family and I were on a trip once, a vacation trip, and we stopped in at Virginia City, and in the opera house there, I saw a photograph of Maud Adams, and she looked so beautiful that I was struck by it immediately. And I'd heard of her, but I'd never really seen her face. And so the idea, as it will with a writer, just sprang into my mind of a young man who falls in love with a photograph like that, or a painting, and decides he must go back and meet this woman. And eventually, I did not set it in Virginia City. I set it at the Del Coronado Hotel in California, which was not an appropriate place to shoot because it's been so built up around it, and the director preferred the light of this place. And this hotel was built the same year, actually. And so that's how it began, and I did a lot of research on Maud Adams, and found it was a sort of an interesting story. I chose the year 1896 for my novel. The motion picture is 1912 for a number of reasons, and I did my plotting, and then when I did research on Maud Adams herself, I found out that in the year 1896 something happened to her, and her entire personality changed from 1896 to 1897. Her acting style changed, her personal living style changed. She became very seclusive, and I to this day I don't know why, but I found it very mysterious.
And so you just tried to suppose, perhaps, that...
No, I already had my story. I knew what my story was going to be, but then to find out that the woman who had inspired it had actually, at that same time that I had, capriciously taken that year, had gone through the same experience, I found very odd, and still do.
Yes, does it give you a kind of eerie feeling, a time warp feeling, as it were?
It's very strange. I don't know what the explanation is.
Yes. At the time that you were working on the screenplay, after, of course, the novel had been out for some time, were you consciously or even subconsciously thinking of the actor you wanted to play the man and the actress you'd like to have for the woman?
No. I think I might have thought of Jane Seymour if I had thought about it. The man I literally could not visualize. Sometimes when you're writing a screenplay, you do think of someone, but I don't believe there is anyone in the motion pictures today except Christopher Reeve who could have played this part. And at the time, I was not familiar with him at all, since I had not even seen Superman at the time. And it was just a fortuitous thing that he liked this script and decided to do it. I think there are probably unknown actors who might have conveyed the same feeling, but among the actors with financial stature, he's the only one, as far as I'm concerned.
What is it that he has that...
I'll tell you exactly. What he has is he has this great size and obvious masculinity, but a tremendous sweetness. And this is a word which a number of people have used about him, and I have used it myself. There is an innate sweetness about him, a gentleness, and a willingness as an actor to expose vulnerability, whereas almost the majority of the actors, certainly the big ones, the ones who seem physical and masculine, are not willing to do this. They have to play it cool and remote, and the women make the approaches to them. They would not go after a woman. And if they're not that way, with someone, say perhaps Dustin Hoffman, who's a wonderful actor, but I don't think he would have looked physically right for this part.
And when he breaks down and cries, did Christopher have any discussion about whether he would do that?
No, he just felt it that way. That's what I mean. Can you see Robert Redford breaking down and crying? I can't.
Why did you change the title of the movie from what the
Well, I
novel
didn't
was?
want to change it. I guess the main reason is that people kept calling it Bedtime Return. And they figured, well, that was leading them in the wrong direction. Bid, B-I-D, is apparently a very hard word to get with. And so that's why they made it a little more simple to accommodate, the mind.
Are you satisfied that Jeannot Zwark as the director was exactly what it needed, or could possibly two or three other people have brought something different but something wonderful?
I have no idea. I suppose, certainly it's within the realm of possibility, but Jeannot was perfect for it. When he went in to see Stephen Deutsch, the producer, the first time, it was when Stephen was an executive vice president at the Raystar, and Jeannot was going in to talk about a huge-scale science fiction epic because he had finished Jaws 2 and done it so well. And he said, I don't want to do. What I want to do is a small-scale, an intimate love story like Portrait of Jenny. And Stephen, who had had my book for years, leaped across the room and thrust it in his hand. And by the next morning, Jeannot had decided that was what he wanted to do. And he has had such a strong feeling for it, which is, of course, vital. And I think he had a perfect fix on it.
Are you currently working on a screenplay?
No. I have another novel that I wrote after Bedtime Return, which is a novel about afterlife, and Stephen Deutsch has optioned it, and it is the next film we want to make. We haven't gotten it off the ground yet because it is a very chancy subject. If this film is highly successful, which we hope, then we will probably be able to make it with much more ease.
Your next project, does it have any of the qualities of Resurrection, which we have seen here?
Well, Resurrection takes place, my novel takes place in the next world, almost exclusively, in the next life.
Be looking forward to that. It's been nice having this chance to meet you, Mr. Matheson.
Thank you. Very pleasant.
All righty, we'll just keep it rolling if you'd like to.
All right.
turn us on.
And let's see, I better do it,
Did you look at
yeah,
that?
right about there. Okay.
Now I have to state about, it has to be a fairly tight cutaway or else the background becomes too
Okay.
obvious.
All right, I understand. Okay, I'll give you reactions first.
All right.
Okay, questions? It's my understanding that the actress Maud Adams was somewhat your inspiration for the novel and for the screenplay. How did all that come about? You're somewhat in an enviable situation because very few novelists get to write the screenplays of their works. Why did they change the title? At the time you were working on the screenplay, did you either consciously or even subconsciously think about Christopher Reeve to play the man and Jane Seymour to play the woman? Why do you say Christopher Reeve is the only name actor you can think of to play that part? In one scene, Christopher has to break down and cry. Was there any discussion about that? Janos Wark, of course, directed Jaws 2, a big action picture. Do you think if someone else had directed this that it would have a different look, a different feel? All right, I think that'll get it.